I think, and I hope. Who knows with technology, right? Hi, everybody. I'm Deb,
And I'm Ellie Ray.
and together we have a company together called Get Mic'd, and we love to communicate. We kind of communicate for a living. So we wanted to create a what we call a chat cast so that we could share our communication expertise and rantings with the rest of the world. But I warn you, we are candid, we are forward, we are insane, and we like to have a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. We're going to introduce ourselves. Ellie, why don't you give us a start on introducing yourself to the world and why would you be good at communication anyway?
Hey guys, what a pleasure to have you all here tonight. Such a pleasure for Deb and I. I'm Ellie Ray. As she said, I'm 45 years plus professionally in this industry of communication, all genres, film, television, theater, and radio, as well as online, et cetera, et cetera. Communication is the human connection. I am thrilled with the opportunity to ignite, excite, and uplift others and to inspire the masses. I think our job is to find the prayer in the temple, whether it be a home studio or a television set or a stage, and literally change a vibration, which I'm pretty well known for, through a spontaneity, a connection, whether it creates you to clap hands or rise to your feet in awe and shout bravo, or just giggle to yourself or cry a small tear or to feel again. I think we enter this forum coming in. I am a professional actor, writer, director, producer, bon vivant of all things magical, bing bong in the world of communication. Um, I was born a cartoon. Look, this is what it is. I think our desire to come together and communicate, which is the human connection, is at the basis of everything that we do. And my grand love of audiences, whether it's theater, film, television, radio, um, and whatever genre, it doesn't really matter to me. There's nothing better than sitting around fires, singing, dancing, and sharing fable. We long for it, and the world is desperately in need of a truth where we, as free-willed human beings, have the dynamic responsibility to ignite, excite, and uplift humanity, to change the vibration between us as we live in difficult times with despair and lethargy and despondency and fear and anger and all the things that we know. The one thing that separates us from the lower levels is our ability to communicate and the wondrous celebration of communication, where love and joy and great risk is involved to excite an audience. I think we come together, all of you out there, and Deb and I most certainly, to recharge batteries, to remind our audiences that we are profoundly gifted. We are magical alchemists who are capable of great storytelling. And when you connect to it, you feel more alive than you've ever felt in your life. And so the dynamic with which uh, you come to this forum, no matter what, like I say, I was born a cartoon and I've continued my whole life entertaining through communication. Um, and I think that is what we all strive for. And so this chat cast, as it were, is just an extension of, I think, what we long to do every day, in reality anyway, is get back to just the simplicity of communicating and sharing.
Communication. And isn't
Yeah.
it crazy how, in some ways, you would think that everybody understands communication, but the world is in a disenfranchisement. It's a bit of a mess on how people communicate. And I think that where we become experts is, as she said, we're in the entertainment side of communication. So we entertain people. We're both voice actors. She still does a lot of theater. She's very well known in Toronto. Here we're in Canada. And she also does film. I do film as well, hosting and things like that. So we feel, after the encompass of everything we do, that we are professional communicators. And that's what we do. And so what we see in the world, especially with all the current happenings and everything that's going on, we're older, so we watch the generations change in how they communicate. And it seems like everybody's saying, as soon as the digital franchise came in, communication has been really messed. It's been different. It's People don't feel the same way. They don't communicate the same way. And everybody's saying it, but what are we really doing to change it or to adapt to it and find some balance? Now, I myself, I think I've always been a communicator because I can't shut up. I don't know how to shut up. I wish I could. I just always have more words to say. I love life. I love the gift it's given me to appreciate and to endure the bad, the good, and everything in between. But I knew I needed to be an entertainer. And I know you did too, Ellie, and I'm going to ask you about your journey. But I felt the need to always talk, and I feel so blessed that I found a profession that talks for a living. I just would have never thought, as what I am as a voice actor, would be something that was a job when I was young. I just knew I really loved to talk. If you look at my report cards, every single thing said if she'd only stop talking so much, she might have a lot better grades. Now you kind of got the same report card stuff as I did that way,
Oh,
didn't you?
absolutely.
Yeah. Yours were
Yeah,
a little more insane though.
my whole story is one that is fraught with, living in an institutionalized world where they institutionalize us, in my opinion, from a very early age. Well, in kindergarten, they told my parents I was retarded. They actually used the word retarded because it wasn't politically incorrect at that point in time. And they didn't have words like autism or ADHD or ADD, which of course I would have, I displayed all of,
Check, check, check.
and in grade two, that I had to repeat kindergarten. And then grade two, the same thing. She won't shut up. She won't go have a rest period. She won't do any of the things. She just takes off. What the hell's going on? And then in grade two, they want to skip me forward 2 grades. And then in grade six, they wanted to skip me forward 2 grades again because my IQ was quite high. But I had child psychologists my whole life because I was a rule breaker. I just did not do. Why can't you be like the other children who are anesthetized by the system and follow the rules? Well, I didn't get that. I didn't come in with that chip. So thank God. And I think, Deb, like that, if you are chatty, it is in a great desire to learn,
Yeah.
want to, it's actually a learning mechanism, as we all know. And, then of course you go on and they tell you in university at theater school, oh, you've got a terrible voice. You're never going to do voice work because you've had 4 rhinoplasties and a deviated septum and a cathedral ceiling to the roof of your mouth and an overbite and you're raspy and you're wet and it's gross. And you're not going to do film and TV because you're too tall, you're too angular, you're too flat chested, you're too masculine, there's too much, you're too much. Too much. Stop talking. Get smaller. Can't you get can't be that thing? And there you are. And of course, I graduate, and I'm young. I'm too young, and I get an animation series, a movie with George Segal playing a huge one, a Disney series live on camera, and I get accepted to the 2 largest theaters in Canada. Well, you go,
Oh,
what? I'm so confused by it. But you see, because I think we are rule breakers, and Deb, your story is different and yet similar.
yeah.
Being on the wild side, being unhinged and not following institutional norms,
True.
right?
Yeah. Rules were nothing I ever followed as well. It's just I didn't go through that schooling side of things, but I learned now that I actually probably was pretty smart. I just didn't care about what was people were trying to teach me, I guess. I don't even know. I don't know what my was thinking back then, but I wasn't happy at home. I had, some my mom married a really bad guy and it wasn't a good environment. And so I think that damaged me slightly. And further on, my mom and I fought so much, I would just keep running away. And so I ended up taking that rule breaking in a different way by running away from everything. And school wasn't in the cards at all because I was just too busy breaking the rules.
And I think, ultimately here we are, gang. And it's like, we're extremely successful. I have a PhD, an honorary doctorate, and all kinds of things pretty good for a retarded kid, or, the runaway, or the whatever they want to
Someone who
claim.
talks too much.
Well, somebody won't shut up and
The
just is
weirdos.
other than. The wonderful thing about uniqueness is that's the point. That's the point. Everyone here and on the call tonight, you know, you are allowed to be whoever you want to be. The thing that stands in the way is that institutionalizing, that packaging that, makes people want to be with. They think they should be because we're told that's the way you're supposed to be. And in my opinion, and I won't speak for Deb, but I think she believes the same thing. I think, authentication is your freest form of communication.
As we each progressed through the craziness that we went through young, we actually got to learn that who we were wasn't so bad. But people, when you do talk too much, when you are a little weird, I think we all are, when you aren't fitting the norm, they don't know how to take you. They don't think it's okay, and they judge. And as soon as you start feeling judged, a lot of people repress who they are. And I think we're a big repressed society of people trying to be who they think they're supposed to be instead of embracing who they are. And I was so blessed to find acting, whether it was in film, theater, voice acting, which is where I really like to land, because it allowed me to be me. And then I learned that it's actually me I have to sell, and I have to be me. And I don't think I accepted myself when I was very young. I don't think I liked myself. So I was always trying hard to make people like me. Please like me, like me. What do you need? You need me to lie? Okay, I'll lie. Oh, you need me to smoke? Okay, I'll smoke. Oh, I'll drink. Sure. And I didn't realize that wasn't the way to fit in. I didn't realize all I had to do was be myself. And if any one thing we could ever both leave with the world, it would be there is a home for the real you. No matter whether it's crazy, fun, over the top, there's always a perfect circle of beings that are just like you. And they deserve to be who they are. We all do. We don't deserve to judge everybody.
No. And, we're talking about communication. We're so stifled in our honesty. I mean, our true honesty. We think we need to be the pleasant, charming person that has a voice that is safe. Whereas in reality, opinion matters. Discovery in response-driven dialogue matters. Everything is a dialogue. Every single thing is a dialogue. There's no point in monologue. So monologuing is your ego, stroking itself. That is not what you want to bring to any story, whether it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, half hour, 2 hours, or 14-hour audiobook. The ego trying to please has nothing to do with the storyteller who, celebrates chaos, celebrates, the unknown, the possibility in creating the scene rather than regurgitating the words. And that's, the polemic of where we are right now as communicators, I feel, is we've just lost our connectedness. We've just lost our connection to our audience. We are alone in everything we do. We have home studios now. Everybody, if I do go to studio, there's still COVID protocols, and because everybody got very comfortable, they don't drive to studio. They'll do it on Zoom. They'll call in and direct you on big screens because it's easier. It's not about being easy. We have to work to come together. We have to work to open up our humanity. We have to work really hard, particularly now more than ever with so much disdain and hatred in the world. That's our job as communicators. So, hopefully this time that we get to spend talking about specific, specific genres of communication, about specific individual feelings. Hopefully that'll awaken something in you and help you become freer, literally, from any kind of, you've ingested so much stuff around everywhere, whereas this is the platform to just talk it out, feel it out.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, seriously far, like out of this world far. I digress. There were two beautiful storytellers on a quest to change the vibration of the planet, one VA at a time. With the mic as their weapon, they set forth into the forgotten wasteland of lost celebration, a world of lethargy and despair, taking on talent big and small, sharing life's precious vocal secrets of hope, joy, and success. In this vast field of disconnection, they battled, hand in hand, giving their vocal knowledge with their own unique brand of magic to inspire the world. Empower and prepare yourselves for a different kind of vocal training experience with these two award-winning talent who approach the VO realm with infinite possibilities to give. The Get Mike team, making a difference in your journey and your stories. GetMiked.com.
We're going to be doing this the first Wednesday of every month. So it'll be at the 7 o'clock time frame. Obviously, schedules willing, of course. But you'll see the Up Close Get Mike podcast every Wednesday. Every first Wednesday of every month. Anyway, back to communication. And communication goes much deeper than just talking. Ellie and I are very blessed that we found a home based on our personalities, based on what we do. And we learned together when we met, because we were meeting we also coach. And part of that coaching, we found a bond together that we both have the same interest. And one of those interests is to help the planet, really. It's not that we personally want to save the planet, but if we could wave our magic wand, we really would. But one thing I think we've both learned through our entire journey so far is to communicate. And communication means you're being received and heard. And it gives you great gifts, but it also means you listen. And the world isn't listening as well because it's so stuck in its own place. These devices are taking us away. And so kids that are younger than us are not being taught a proper way of communication. I just heard today that there's an actual school that's called the paper style of learning, as if paper is a dinosaur. And so I've learned that kids are not learning, although they're bringing it back now, they weren't learning cursive. So they weren't even learning how to write cursive, which is just crazy. And so if we're not teaching even old school communication, communication has been forever. People that speak different languages communicate. It comes through your body, it comes through your eyes, your face, your tone, not just the words you say. So no matter what language you speak or what accent you have, we all have the need to connect. And some of us feel we want to not connect, and I understand that. We all have a story. Every one of us has a story, whether it comes with trauma or success. We've all gone through a lot to get where we are, and that's why we're in a more secure place to talk about communication, I think now, for what we've learned to where we are. But the world needs help. It's not learning how to connect. It seems to disconnect in itself. And we want to be able to share stories, bring on guests, get chat reviews, and have the audience participate in learning how to bring back communication and bring back love for the planet. Because with everything that's going on, we're in 2023, and everyone I talk to almost has something very major and very traumatic happening to them or someone close to them. There's so much going on in the world with wars, and there's just such a depressing disconnect. And I've always been such a super positive person. So it's so disheartening to even say that at this point, because I always thought, no, there's another side and there always will be. But it's just sad to see where everybody's going.
Yeah, and I mean, I came on tonight, and we don't ever discuss what we're going to talk about. We like to sort of let the world take us where it needs to go, because as communicators, the improvisational connection is far more interesting than anything scripted. However, before I came on today, I don't know for anybody out there who knows, but I had to make the difficult decision yesterday to take my little sweet Chihuahua, John Stanley Little, off his kind of life support. We thought his heart was failing, but it turned out, we learned late last night that the blood work came back and his kidneys had failed. So all this time we had, thought it was his heart, that he had stopped eating for 2 days and was just tired and listless. And they had a feeding tube down his nose, and we're going to try all these different things. But to get his kidneys back online, they would need to flush his entire system with intravenous fluids. And the thing about giving fluids to an animal with degenerative heart disease is the two are combative. They don't go together, and it would cause him to have heart failure. So they said, we can try, we can do this. And so, it's that difficult moment in the story of a lifetime with a 10-year-old beloved family member that you make that decision, knowing it's the right thing to do, and yet terrified, knowing that the moment of bringing the hospice care to your home, we drove up to North York, took him out of the emergency, the clinical that tube removed, so he could die at home with his furry friends and his humans. So it's that moment where you're so terrified of that moment where they give them the phenobarbital. They give them the relaxant first. I've been through it many times. It never gets easier. It's never, ever, ever easy. And it's that empty, bone-chilling, gut-wrenching, raw howl of the inside of your heart that you experience. And, Deb and I had talked about whether I could come on and do it tonight, because, of course, I spent the day weeping uncontrollably. And I got a message talking about communication. Amar, AMAR. He's a wonderful spiritual advisor of mine it's called the Amar Energy, if anybody's at all interested. But I opened it up today, exploring the energy of freedom. And I thought it was so important for what we want to talk about tonight. And I'm just going to quote what it says. In order to create something, which is what I feel communication is, our material self, the mental, physical, and emotional bodies, must have a lived experience of it. So as storytellers, we need to have this physical record of it in our bodies. All of us out there that desire to create and recreate moments, we have to have this record, because once there's an emotional resonance of something that is combined with our cellular memory, which is my experience with my dog, or Deb's experience with her daughters, or her grandchildren, or whatever. And the neural pathways that are created. Now think about what this does to us, right? I can draw from this experience that unknown celebration, painful and joyful and all things all at once, and kind of use it as raw material for creativity, for communication. Because in me lies something so much bigger, the love that takes my breath away, and it changes who we are. as communicators, if we allow that truth to resonate in us, that abundance of experience. Like, what an incredible, it's so much easier to recreate an experience like that in the work that we do. So with all of what I feel to be so quiet suffering and not wanting to be better and be cheerful and be, all those things, not wanting to inflict you with my grief. You're going to get my grief anyway, but with great love, because I'm a communicator. That's why I believe that energy work and visualization, and all of these experiences, even right now with Deb and I communicating with you, it'll elicit strong emotional responses in you, because it's just the way that storytelling goes. And it's so powerful, guys. Like, what a gift. Like, what an incredible gift. Create that physical record. It's a physical record. If you go through grief and you go through despair and you go through anger and you go through hatred and you go through moments where, you're trying to be celebratory and they're lessons. They're lessons that make us greater and open up a greater forum as a responsibility we have to storytelling from a place of truth. I mean, pure truth. I don't mean that kind of announcy, voice-driven truth, which is false, in my opinion. I'm talking about creating a blueprint for yourself for creativity, a blueprint for yourself, creating those neural pathways through your experiences, not hiding from them, not pretending that they don't trouble you, and they don't just speak your truth. As Deb knows, I'm a truth speaker as best to my abilities, and I'm candid, like Deb says. It's not always nice. I don't know how to not be truthful, and that hurts people's feelings sometimes. And I don't.
It's funny because I think that's our big bond as well. And when I was young, until I was a teenager, I lied compulsively. I just thought that's what I had to do to fit in, as I said. So I was a 100% liar. Then I became a very young mom at 16 and 17. And for some reason, I woke up and went, oh, I don't need to lie anymore. I don't know why. I just think it was having my daughter was finally someone that accepted me the way I wanted to be accepted, or I don't know. And I just stopped. I just stopped lying. And now I can't help exact same words that came out of your mouth. I cannot help it. I need to speak the truth. And sometimes it's overstepping. Sometimes I'm not as tactful as I'm wanting to be. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes they don't want to hear it. And I understand all of those points. But I feel that because of my truth telling, I think I created a really good world for myself. I think it saved me as a human being. And I think that's a book I'm writing, is on how to tell the truth, because most people don't know how. We're taught to suppress our feelings. We're so taught that, especially at our age and up. Like, we're 50s and 60s and up, and the men especially, tough it out, son, tough it out, son. Well, if your body's crying, let it cry. If your body's angry, let it be angry. But I think the balance becomes it doesn't have to affect anyone else. You have to find a way to make it only affect you and your world, because you're the only one responsible for that circle. And you can be told that numerous times, but until you experience that what Ellie does isn't part of my world, even though we do things together. What my husband does, it's really this individual capsule that I have, this momentary lift that I have on this planet. And I'm the only one who answers to it. The only one.
And, the great wonderful thing about that, Deb, is full circle. I don't sit there and judge my responses. My response is my response. If I preempt my response, it's like preempting how you want to do a script. If you pre-think about how it's dead, it's no longer fresh and realistic. It's not immediate. It's not spontaneous. And it's not relative to communication, because it's a two-way street in communication. You're always, so there's always someone you're talking with if your mouth is open. You're not just going blah, 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 blah by myself. And in the industry we're in, we
We
open our mouths to speak because we want to move an audience. We want to sell them something or help them or aid them or give them ideas or show them where to go or tell them what sale is on or what to have for dinner or where to bank or where to put their aged parents if they need to go into hospice or whatever. But that doesn't mean that we have to have a false front, in our opinion. Somewhere along the line, we were institutionalized to believe that your opinion is not required. Your opinion is not required, and nothing could be truer or falser for the storyteller, but truer for you is to authenticate your opinion. How do we, because we're like, oh, I hope you like me and I hope you hire me. And those who end up getting hired don't care.
Yeah. They have a confidence, right?
Statistics. They have a confidence. The people, the top bookers, they don't worry about whether they sound okay or they are giving you the right thing. They express themselves as themselves, right?
And I find some people can be very tactful in their truth telling. Some people can be very crass in their truth telling. And I do feel some of the, I don't want to say the worst because it's no judgment on how anyone reacts to things. However, the one that I think might be even the most damaging is what I should say, is when they don't. Because if you're holding it back, it's going to come out in some way, whether it's repressed and you're getting depression over it, or it comes out onto someone else when you're mad or when you finally let go. I don't believe it's healthy. And as we teach voice acting, and as voice actors teaching other people, men anywhere 45 and up, you've got to teach them how to feel because they were just taught not to. And it was pointed out to me recently that a lot of the young kids, this new push button generation, they don't know how to feel either. And I thought, no, 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 no. We're in a world of reasoning and feelings. I listen to these kids I help raise, and they're all like, oh, but that hurts me. I can't do that. So as I look at that, which is a whole nother subject in itself, you think that they aren't taught feelings, but that's different than reasoning. Here's my excuse as to why I'm doing something versus what the genuine feeling is of letting go. And because they're communicating in text, you can interpret that in whatever way you want. So it's not genuine, like what you were just talking about. It becomes, even though the words are spontaneous and right in that moment, you can really harm people in text because you would never say that to their face, as everyone knows. And so the text part of things has made this younger generation not understand feelings and how to express. It's really sad.
Look at written expression is not communication. A letter sent is a letter.
Yeah.
Communication is response-driven dialogue between two people or a group of people. We're not orators. We don't stand prophetizing in front of, the masses. And Deb and I are all about, ask questions. We're like, I asked before we started, I said, can people chat? Like, are we? And we're like, oh, I don't know. Like, we have to figure that out. Obviously, we're figuring everything out at this point in time. But the desire is to have people communicating and people, it's a forum where you want to be heard and listened to, because nobody is being listened to, I don't think, or being heard. And we, for the most part, are not listening to anybody else either, because it's all, like Deb said, digitized.
Yeah. When you become an actor, one of the things you learn how to do is actually become a listener. Because as you learn how to act, you learn it's actually not about this action that I want to put out. It's actually more about the response I'm trying to get. And I think a lot of us don't get good responses, but we don't tend to check ourselves too when we're not getting the responses we're looking for. And I think I had to learn that because, I I think I'm a good communicator now, but I don't think I was before. I think I was a yeller. I was raised in a yelling environment, so it's what I thought was normal and just being me, I guess. And then I didn't like it. It didn't feel good. It was an unhappy place. And I went through counselors and I went through communication and I always remembered they say, just write out your I messages. And I'm like, okay, I write out my stupid frickin' I messages. And I hated it because they would always give me paperwork. And I thought, this isn't counseling. This isn't what I'm looking for. But I think I'm really grateful for that time because it did teach me how to regroup my thoughts so I didn't get to the yelling place. I didn't have to. I really don't have to. When you get confidence, you don't need to get there as much. Not saying that we don't all lose our shit, because we do. We're human. And we're allowed to be human. And we have to forgive ourselves for that stuff because it's going to happen with your spouses, your kids, your loved ones, your friends. And you, there's certain people that you really click with and certain that you don't. And the reason that is communication styles.
Well, exactly. And Deb, what you just said, it is a respect for the other. And I feel like there is no respect for anybody. There's judgment of everything that isn't you. There's judgment of, oh, like that director was really crappy, or oh my God, I hate the working with that person. They were so slow, or whatever. And I'm like, real? Mm-hmm. When did we become it's everybody else that has a problem? Yeah. Because there's one energy here, folks. One.
Here.
Called we. That's what the team is. You can try to separate it. You can pretend that there's factions that don't belong. That is not the truth. There is a single energy here called humanity. And the sooner we can get to celebrating all things, good, bad, and different, and leading with love and joy, and celebrating the possibility that we still take air, unlike my little chihuahua, then I think we might have something. That's our jobs as communicators, is to remind, as Deb said, those that are desperate to be heard, that we hear you. To you, right?
I had a friend once who was a good listener. She wasn't necessarily someone who spoke a lot. And we had our group of friends. And in that group of friends, we would always get together. And I was in an unhappy marriage, so I would bitch about my husband or my marriage or my kids or my teenager or whatever. And so would my girlfriend. And our other girlfriend, very once in a while, would pitch in. And then one time she pitched in and she says, I think my boss is driving me crazy. And so we heard her, okay, yeah. Oh, wow, that's too bad. She's like, the last person who worked there, she was working for the government of Canada. Now, number one, she was a female working for the government of Canada, and this was 20-something years ago now. Number two, she was Canadian native Aboriginal. And so she wasn't very respected in her position because she was a female, and she was a strong female. So I imagine she butted a lot of heads and didn't put up with any shit. And so we heard her, but she seemed strong, so we weren't worried about her. And she said, the last girl who did my job is actually in the hospital, mental. She heard the boss is driving her nuts. And we're like, oh, that's really too bad. Geez, so sorry. And then we move on to, oh, my husband's this and this is this, and what we regularly did at that time. Not saying that we always bitch. So a month goes by, we're back in the hot tub, we're visiting, and all of a sudden a chunk of her hair comes out, a big chunk. Well, we didn't realize it was really serious because she was someone who didn't talk a lot. And what I learned out of that experience, she got very unhealthy, got alopecia, lost all her hair. She was so stressed at work, and she was going to a nurse who actually wasn't a clinical psychologist, but was an acting as a psychologist. And she wouldn't, the government, or sorry, her company would not honor paying for the sessions. So she suddenly had to owe thousands of dollars. So she just stopped going to therapy. And I word it like this: they opened up Pandora's box, and then she ran out and couldn't close it. So she ended up just turning like we didn't even know who she was by the end of it. It was so wild, such a wild experience. And I always held so much guilt because I didn't listen loud enough. And that day forward, I always work hard as best as I can, because we live very busy lives, to listen better, because I wasn't listening to. So those of you that don't talk a lot, oh, those are the ones you really want to listen to the most, because they take a lot of work to build up the courage to say the words they're saying, say it in the way they're saying, and they probably won't repeat it. So you got to be a good listener as much as you're a good communicator.
Well, and it's like, I hate to keep bringing this back to my little animal, but
Of
it's like
course.
carried on for so long without knowing. And it's like, you miss moments that, you go, oh, is there something? You try to second guess yourself, and you look back and you think, oh, I missed that moment. I saw that moment, but I just, didn't I didn't take it in as anything, because his heart rate was okay. It's like, it's where you focus so intently on the moments of your life, each moment, rather than letting them go. We're so distracted, as human beings right now, what with devices and everything else. But if we can come back to this, there's like a laser inspirational, aspirational desire as communication and communicators, where we're so worried about our part in it. As Deb said, what a great story, that we miss the audience.
Yeah.
Audience is key. Why? Otherwise, what are we doing?
And isn't it funny, because we teach to be confident and recognize that this is the only thing you're responsible for. But then in the flip side, we also say this is a team. And so it's the judgment we want to change. We want to be okay to be who we are. I think both Ellie and I believe everybody matters, period. The
Well,
good, the bad, the ugly.
exactly. And there is no I in team. So you either understand that my individual sparkle does not diminish anyone else's individual sparkle. As a grain of sand on this beach of humanity, we are equally required. And that's where it gets a little bit like, oh, well, so-and-so's been doing this. Oh my gosh, they're doing better. Oh, well, they're this, oh, they're that. No, they're exactly the same. They're masterful alchemists. And this is where institutionalized training says, well, they've been in it longer and they're better. No, that's like giving an award for something that is impossible, that you're different, but you're the same. Like Deb, and I know this from the Ultimate VO Survivor. So many brilliant people where you just go, oh, really, we have to pick the best, because that's just silly.
Well, there's no such thing. There's
Like
no
apples
such
and
thing as
oranges,
the
but
best.
that's the best. They're. What do you mean? That's the best apple. That's the best orange for me. They're different.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone is a banana.
I believe in hierarchy at work, in a business environment. I understand you answer to this person for this reason to get these things done efficiently. But when it comes to the world, I don't believe in hierarchy. I just don't. I don't believe there's anyone better, and I don't believe there's anyone less. And
No.
I think everybody who sits there and tries to prove that is, I think, wasting valuable time. Not saying that they shouldn't be competitive and try to get there, but I wish they would only be competitive with themselves, because I'm only trying to be better than I was today and better than I am tomorrow, and just keep working on that, because that again is the only one, once my kids are out of my home, the only one I'm responsible for. I can't be embarrassed by anybody. I don't need to be. It's me personally that I would be embarrassed by if I'm going to be embarrassed. So when you're embarrassed of someone or your friend, it has nothing to do with you.
Well, and it's exactly. And I was just, thinking about, this is several years, this was before COVID, and I was approached, in a corporate sense, because, Deb and I both work hello, corporate, me, yeah.
Everything.
One would think, maybe not so much, but, was suggested that I was, a top leader in vocal, training. So I had a very high political figurehead that was sent to me, who couldn't public speak, who was not a great public speaker, and wanting to just authenticate themselves. That this is what Deb and I are like, all about. And it was amazing, because I did take a meeting, and what I recognized was, okay, I can't train you how to allow your authentication, but you are so rigidly institutionalized, which is, so it's like, use it. If that is what you happen to be, like, we go, oh, no, that's too stiff, that's too do. Make it the thing that you are, but make it bold, and don't pull away from, I don't know how to speak, and I've got a script written, and I've got this, and working with response. Well, find the funny. What's funny? There's nothing funny. There's no funny there. Well, be somebody who is a stand-up comedian. In your mind, you're not you. Where you talk about how do you get, and to find people that are literally terrified to communicate.
Yeah.
We don't understand this for the most part, probably people that are here. There is always a way to express how you feel. How do you feel? I'm thinking that I could do better. And it's like, why would you think that? Well, because I don't think I did very well. Why would you think that? Based on what? Based on whose response? Based on your response. You don't know, or you wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. So there's this whole, let that sense of sitting around fire, singing, dancing, and sharing fable. It's a celebration to communicate with our fellows. The team, we talk of the team. It's what the confusion of not being able to talk, of not being able to communicate how you feel. Do you believe in what you're saying? Yes. Sure, it's political jargon, right? And which I go, like I'm going to flip out. Wasn't a particular political party that I actually supported either. But that doesn't matter, because the individual, that has nothing to do with can they communicate or not. I just find it fascinating, where we stop ourselves from those neural pathways of emotional truth in having an opinion. Is it the script that does it?
Yeah. Well, it never is the script.
Don't ever blame the script. People are like, oh, this script sucks. It's like, no.
That's our job, is to make really, well, especially for me, I was non-union. In our world of voice acting, I'm non-union and Ellie is union. And being non-union, I did a ton of narration. And in doing narration, I read a lot of bad copy, like a lot of bad copy. The better you get in our industry, the better the scripts get, the better the writers get. So you don't have it as bad. But our job is to make really bad copy sound really amazing. And that goes back to, it's not about the word that you said. It's actually the hidden intention you're putting behind it, which is a whole nother topic in itself, because people don't realize you might be saying you're fine, but it's the way in which you're saying it that they're reading into something else. And because of Ellie and I's past of what we've done, especially with students, we're able to read your mind. All you have to do is say hello. We can dissect you so quickly because what we do for a living, on top of what we've already said, is listen to others. We're always studying others to grab attributes and nuances and things like that and bring it into our world. But more importantly, to listen and be good for them and what they need from us. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, gang, this is profoundly exciting. And if you don't find that celebration in the ability to communicate, you're missing a point. There's nothing more stimulating than debate and discovery of ideas and the sharing of emotional truth, mental, physical, spiritual, intellectual, musical passions with your fellows. If you are not having fun, and I mean being completely inspired yourself, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
There's no big trick here. It's great to communicate.
And it's necessary. It's the only way we're going to get through this whole thing that we have.
We're going to lose each other completely,
Yeah.
utterly to AI. Why require us when you can type in a thing to respond?
Yeah.
And I agree. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
We've got to prove that there's far more magic inside of this, authenticating our emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, intellectual, musical truth. It's profoundly, dynamically, earth-shatteringly magical.
It really is. It can bring you a lot of happiness in an otherwise seemingly gray place. And I think that we're always looking for that light. How do we get through the darkness? Because the darkness is always going to come. So you have to find your way through that light. And one good way is telling people how you feel, good, bad, or indifferent. You'd be amazed. I find it really interesting that a lot of people, they want help, but they won't say it. And so if they don't ask for it, they don't get it. I found my mom was that way. She would always say, "You always get what you want, Debbie. You always get that." And I'm like, because I always ask. I'm not afraid to say, "Hey, I need some help with this. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I need." But I'm also not afraid to give. I believe in giving and taking in the best of ways. You know, it's so important that I know how to give in order to receive, but it's not about gifts and monetary things. It's about giving of myself and allowing that to be a unified gift and recipient from someone giving to me. And again, if you can find more like minds, not everybody likes my person, not everybody's going to like who we are, what we represent. So find your circle and then be you, because we're taught to be someone we're not, to please everybody else. And that's what we're hoping to leave with all of you, is to find a way to find the real you and allow it to come out in everything you do, so that you don't suppress that person and think that that's not okay.
Yeah. And brokenhearted as I am tonight, I find it a wondrous, absolute wondrous, not distraction, that's not the word that I want to say. It's an easing to come to fellows who listen to me energetically. Am I different? Probably, but for the most part, my truth is my truth. Inside of me, I carry the weight of loss, but in communication, my love of it stands stronger than all other obstacles around me, which is, I think a great testament to what we're capable of amidst great adversity, is that if you can focus on your listener, those neural pathways that, I mentioned that Amar talked about emotionally will grow you. Don't deflect away from the darkness that can invade you, because your greatest light that you shine is your communicative skills, in my opinion. That is the healer,
Yeah.
not my thought, not my, it's literally this. It's hopefully we will touch you in a certain way that you have more faith in yourself, that you have a guideline or open a neural pathway or a doorway for yourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, intellectually to go, yeah,
Maybe
I
I'm
think
okay.
communication is something I want to engage in, not shy away from, and not become insular and independent of your team. Your team, as Deb said, is always there. There's
Yeah.
help at hand everywhere. They are there. I saw it today and yesterday when I was struggling with my own emotional truth. Just your network.
Yeah.
It's like it's humanity at its best.
You can't know everything. You always need a lending hand. Let's dedicate today's show to John Henry. And I would just like to also take a moment, Ellie, to praise you for how you are with your animals. You're such a beautiful soul and what you give to them. And they are very grateful for their life with you. I know they are.
Thank
Oh,
you. And, thank you. That dedication, it means so much to me. John Stanley Little,
oh, John Stanley, sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. John Stanley Little was June 19th, 2013 to November 7th, 2023. So that beautiful little soul, like every little soul that is listening to this chat cast, is free. And your freedom lies in your creative expression. So with that grace at hand, I say thank you so much, and I'll take it because it makes me feel really good. And I'm waiting for his little paw print and his ashes to arrive, which will probably be another scalding day.
Yeah.
It'll just stir the cauldron up a bit for this witchy poo here, but all good things.
Well, we're collectively giving you a great big virtual hug. We love you and thank you for your service, John Stanley, as Ellie would say. Love you, honey. We'll see you next episode.
Hey, next episode is going to be great. We hope to see you here too. Get mic'd and in our chat cast. Hey, gang, we're going to change it person by person. Come in and talk, share your feelings, express what you want, what you wish, and we'll listen and hopefully we'll help.
One conversation at a time.
Go get mic'd.